Well, thank you, Brandy. Yeah, we've been watching this one since it was well in western Simpson County, and it's made its way close enough that concerned it is in the area, basically passing to the east of Taylorsville and starting to move into southern Jasper County. Now, it's still moving more east southeast than anything else, so there's really not much of a threat of it pushing much further south than 84 there or anything. So it is expected to stay to the north of like the major metropolitan and Hattiesburg area and anywhere south of that. But right now is still up in that Jasper County, headed towards Clark County, and still holding together. I didn't expect it to because of how sloppy this storm is. You can see it extending there from Stringer with that very high reflectivity area, and then kind of hooking down near Soso and then towards Hot Coffee. So this is a very ragged line trying to form into a squall line, almost has some supercell characteristics as well, with some very messy rotation there. You can see basically extending from Stringer to Moss and almost down to Soso, where those reds and greens touch each other, showing you where you have wind going rapidly rotating in that direction. So we're continuing to watch that. Because it's so hard to place, I'm going to make a pretty wide area here of where that storm may potentially be. Normally you don't kind of use the squall line setup for tornadoes, but again, it's hard to tell where it may be in there. Now, earlier it was confirmed on the ground. It is not now, but as we always say, it's better to go ahead and treat it as it is. Thankfully, everyone in this warning box that has a warning method, like our app or a weather radio, is getting those alerts, hopefully loud enough to wake them up. And now they're listening to this and be able to get in that safe spot when needed. So right now, the estimated time of arrival for this storm, and again, it is very hard to place where this is. So it could be anywhere from right there around Moss, even as far down as Soso. So all these cities here may not necessarily be right in the path, but close enough that I'm going to go ahead and err on the side of caution with that. So looking at that, especially with some of these things that I'm seeing on here, like you see Heidelberg High School there at 554. So if this was to hold long enough to reach that area and be a damaging tornado on the ground, we could see some real problems with that. So obviously not the best way to start your week or your morning. So Moss at 5:39 coming up right now, and then in the next handful of minutes, Sharon at 5:45. If you are in or near any of those cities, Bonner 5:48. This is the time to go ahead and start moving towards that safe zone. Make sure you've got everything you need. Lowest level of your house, most interior. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Now, not everyone has a good setup. Just do the best you can. That's all we're asking here to try to get through everything safely. So we still have this tornado warning. I'm looking at the rotation chart here. That's where you're getting those greens and reds as it slowly moves around. It's not very well put together. It hasn't really been at any point, but they don't have to be. They do when you want those really impressive long ones that you see long videos of, but these are going to be these nasty ones that are wrapped in rain and potentially hail. There has been a long history of hail with this storm. Looks like there's kind of some lingering off towards Taylorsville still. Looks like it may not be actively falling right now, which is a good sign because this has had very strong updrafts this entire history of this storm as it's continuing to make its way towards the east. Once again, you can see how just not linear it is, and that's what these storms try to do, is become a very organized, narrow line, and this is hitched up all over the place from Stringer down to Soso and then extending once again westward towards Mount Olive and Hot Coffee. But the danger zone right now still centered right here around Highway 15, it looks like, in the Soso, Stringer, Shady Grove, and Moss area. And normally we do have a little bit better of an idea of where we can point you in a direction to find that, looking at where this is, velocity is put up, where the high reflectivity is. It's not getting into that typical where we can generalize how tornadoes will act. Sometimes they do kind of their own thing anyway. So just a very messy storm here, not the kind you can really get photogenic with, but the kind that will surprise you very early in the morning with a tornado that may be completely obscured by heavy rain and potential hail in there as well. So once again, pushing towards the east, no longer confirmed on the ground. But still some very high reflectivity values, still some very high rain rates mixed in there as well. You can see that right around Moss, that big purple area right there. Let me actually just switch it to stop looping so we can see a little bit better. Let's see, until 6:15. Looking at Heidelberg around 6 o'clock, we knew that. Goodwater at 6:15. Radar indicated rotation upwards of $half-sized hail possible. When this was issued, severe thunderstorm located over Moss near Stringer. Now I believe it is more on top of Stringer, pushing east at 35, which has slowed about 10 miles per hour from where it was about 15 minutes ago. So again, this is all over the place as far as it has hail. Now it doesn't have hail. It's windy. The rotation's messy. But that active tornado warning, especially coming in at such a concerning time of the day, before sunrise, when many people out there may still be asleep, why we push those warning methods. So I hope everyone has those. If you're awake now and you're watching this, if you are south of 84, you don't have anything to worry about with this. So I just want to make sure of that. So basically, south of Collins and Laurel. Now, Laurel is close enough that you may get nicked by this on the northern end. I don't believe by the tornado-warned area, but the entire line itself is just kind of a big, nasty, scary-looking storm with the potential for gusting winds and hail. And then, of course, we're focused right now on that centered area around Moss, Soso, and Stringer. Let's see if maybe we've got some velocity we can, yeah, it looks like right on top of Moss now, but still not even any better defined or anything like that. Looks like it may have more of a northerly tilt now to it too, kind of going right along those county lines between Jasper and Jones and Clark and Wayne. So once again, putting up the storm spotter here. Sandersville, 5:55 here in the next couple of minutes. Exit 104 if you live near that. Bachoma Casino there at 5:56, right around 6. And then, of course, we were watching Heidelberg for the 6 o'clock hour for that to be pushing in. That's in the next 15 minutes. So any of these cities here, if you are near them, if you are even remotely near them, or any of these locations like the casino there or exit 104, if any of those sound familiar to you, near the place where you happen to be right now, then please go ahead and get somewhere safe, whether that's a hallway, whether that's a bathroom, just the lowest level, most interior room of your house. If none of those are good options, you just do the best you can. You get as low as you can in your house, cover up your head with pillows and things like that, and wait as it moves through the area. So once again, this is not going to be a very visible storm, plus the fact that it's coming through when it's dark isn't helping either, but it's a very messy storm wrapped in this quasi-linear system, trying to form into some semblance of a linear storm, but it's just not, just messy and disorganized is the way to put it, but organized enough that it has these issues. So again, very, very broad area where we could be seeing this happening. Right now, I would say it's right around Moss, just looking at where that high reflectivity is and the shape of where we're seeing that kind of notch. Let's see if I can draw it. This little notch right there is certainly concerning there. So trying to place it, that would be about the best I could put it, would be in the Moss area right now, still moving 35 miles per hour towards the generally east. It has been southeast, but now looks like it may almost be due east right along the county lines there between, again, Jasper and Jones and Clark and Wayne. So we're continuing to watch this. It's been active for a while. Now, it did kind of fall apart and reform near Taylorsville as it was pushing through Mize. But that's, it's been holding on since western Simpson County. Now, the interesting thing about today is this is kind of left over from yesterday because today's severe risk is very low. So when I was coming in here, I was marking up, looking at the severe thunderstorms, letting everyone know there may be some hail and gusting winds, but this is one of those situations where all the ingredients are there and they somehow haphazardly came together. This is one of those where it wasn't expected, certainly. It's possible, it always is, whenever thunderstorms are there, you can always see anything going on under the right circumstances. You often hear me talking about overachieving storms and things like that, and that's what I believe we're seeing here. So this line pushing into the area didn't look initially that impressive, and now again it really doesn't, but it's just very disorganized and strong enough with that one little cell right there around between Moss, Sandersville, and Shady Grove. With those high reflectivity values and potential hail and the gusting winds there. So it is still a broad area. Once again, you can see all that green there. That's air going one direction, the red going the opposite, where you have those two touching, which is right there between Sandersville and Stringer. If I had to place it right now, I'd say we're looking at about right there for where that storm is. So let's go and point from there, moving almost due east. We can get those same, we're seeing some of the same cities, so that's good that it isn't jumping around too much. Again, Bachoma Casino there at just before 6, Heidelberg at 6, so that's here in about the next 10 to 12 minutes. We're watching that push through, and Heidelberg High School came up there earlier, which is, of course, concerning when you see those types of things around this time of day, which is when many people may be getting up and before too long getting ready for buses. So again, this is all to the northern end of the area, up along the county line between Jasper and Jones and Clark and Wayne right now. If you don't live anywhere near there, you're very likely not even experiencing any concerning rain. So if this is getting in the way of your morning routine, I apologize about that, but we do have a dangerous situation on the ground for our northern neighbors up there as we take a look at this active tornado warning still. And again, it's right there on the county line, almost following it, it looks like, as it continues to jump around a little bit just because of how sloppily designed this storm is, or not designed, but just organized. So we're continuing to watch this. The long end of things, if it holds on for about another 30 to 45 minutes, we'll be looking at Nancy and Hale as potential areas for that to move in. But here in the next 10 minutes, we're concerned about Sandersville, Bachoma Casino, Heidelberg, and then into Stafford Springs. With that potential tornado there. Again, it's a tornado warning, not confirmed on the ground. It was earlier when it was in Simpson County, but is not now. As we continue to update you on this. Still those very high reflectivity values, which means we've got a lot of stuff falling, whether that's hail or rain. Looks like, at least in Sandersville area, it is rain. But that could be coming down quite heavily, too. We're talking upwards of 3 inches an hour. Let's see what it says there, actually, for this white area. Upwards of 3 inches an hour. Yeah, so that's coming down pretty quickly. So if one of those was to linger in your area for a little bit and you have low-lying areas or areas of poor drainage, that's where you can get those real fast areas of potential flooding popping up there. So it looks like we just had an update to this. They just kind of changed their shape up a little bit. Let me see if they added anything to the text for it. Latest update has it near Sandersville or 10 miles east of Stringer, still moving at 35 miles per hour. Still potential radar indicated rotation. The hazard there is, of course, a tornado. Also upwards of quarter-sized hail still possible within that storm. And again, those high rain rates, upwards of 3 inches per hour, which can really exacerbate some small-scale flooding quickly. So flying debris can be dangerous. Damage to roofs, windows, vehicles can occur. Tree damage is likely in this area, again, with the winds and the potential tornado there. Still moving towards Heidelberg around the 6 o'clock hour. Stafford Springs after that, right around 6:05, and then Goodwater towards 6:10. So that, again, gives us here about the next 20 minutes worth of cities, assuming this is hanging on together, and placing that very sloppy rotation would put it kind of right on the county line between Sandersville and Heidelberg towards Ukiah there, it looks like. So definitely one of those situations where if you're anywhere near any of those cities, anywhere east of those cities, you should definitely be paying attention to this system so that you know as it pushes a little bit closer whether or not we still have this active tornado warning, because again, it's not confirmed on the ground, but it might as well be, especially with as disorganized and rain-wrapped as it is very likely to be, which is when the tornado is basically not visible because it is surrounded by rain, hail, and things of that nature. And especially with it being as dark as it is, because it's nighttime, seeing issues with that. Looks like a severe thunderstorm warning was just issued to the southeast of that area. So this may be shifting on us. And now no longer trying to push that due east and now moving more of a southeast, which is some of the crazy jump. Or hello? Are we still there? I think I'm still there. We may be seeing Brandy, but definitely, there we go. So we've got the tornado warning back. Again, still looking at the Heidelberg-Sandersville area for where we can place that with this very messy storm pushing through the area. Yeah, that rotation's gotten a lot more diffuse, but still right there, again, to the northwest of Sandersville, to the west of Highway 11, right along the Jasper and Jones County line is where we're talking. And if you're nowhere near that, then you very likely may not even be raining. So, again, this is one of those situations where I'm talking to a very specific group of people on the northern end of the Pine Belt, right up against Jasper, Jones, Clark, and Wayne County. Starting to extend a little bit more towards the south, it looks like. We'll see if the tornado warned part does that. But the rest of the storm, it looks like they do believe will push a little bit more southerly. Still staying far to the north of Hattiesburg, but may start pushing towards the Waynesboro area, as you see there, and potentially as far south as state line. So, severe thunderstorm warning area over there, that's really nothing that we don't already know is happening, that we have strong thunderstorms with heavy rain, frequent lightning, gusting winds, and the potential for hail. So we'll still focus on this area over near Heidelberg, south of Heidelberg and Sandersville, basically moving right on top of I-59 and making its way east along the county line there. So we'll see. Eventually it's going to either be a more northerly thing or a more southerly thing. I believe it's shifting more towards the north, which would make the Heidelberg area more of a concern here in about the next 5 minutes. Again, still a very diffuse area, very hard to place where exactly this might be. So being a lot more general than usual. Somewhere between Sandersburg and Heidelberg, or to the south of Heidelberg right now, is a potential tornado that is very likely completely obscured by this very messy storm with frequent lightning, heavy rains, and the potential for hail upwards of quarter-sized hail or half-dollar-sized hail even. So that is continuing to push towards the east. We are watching it, still very high reflectivity. It's really that only one little notch of this storm that's concerning that was pushing through here over the last hour or so, really since right before we started the sunrise show. It started going off. About half the week's forecast done when all of a sudden the sirens start going off in the studio, as this strong thunderstorm got its little rotation going. So once again, looks like that high reflectivity area may now be south of Sandersville, so the heavier rain, the potential for hail is pushing off in that direction towards Ukiah. The area of rotation seems to be more towards the north now, kind of north of the county line between Jasper and Jones. Almost not quite following, but a little bit more northerly now, kind of paralleling 11, as it continues to make its way towards the east now, potentially northeast. Very, very long track system here. especially for it to be as disorganized as it is to hold together like this. Very, very impressive so far. So again, still continuing to watch this. The biggest area of interest is all around this area here: Vosburg, Heidelberg, Sandersville, Ucutta, Moss and Shady Grove, or Laurel's probably getting a very heavy shower right now. Potential for hail mixed in there as well, as you kind of get clipped by the southern end of this storm. Again, not the tornado warned area. Laurel and Powers and Calhoun and all those areas are out of the tornado warning and should not be put in that. But with it as messy as it is, it could jump around a little bit. And again, with it as widely diffuse as it is, I can't place it as tightly as I would like to be able to say, exactly here at this, let's say, 100-yard area. That's where you need to be concerned. But really, it's basically anywhere between Heidelberg and Sandersville. I could place that based on just how messy that velocity profile is. So continuing to watch this storm, which was linear as it was pushing through earlier. You can kind of see it still has that somewhat of that shape to it as it continues to push off towards the east. It is expected to be strong. It's expected to be stronger off towards the east once the sun came up. You can see that reflected here in our severe threat for today, which is at level 1 for the entire area, just barely above thunderstorms possible, and then flaring up to the east of us. But this is one of those circumstances where we talk about, just a moment, I'm checking a note here. All right. We're going to check on a couple of cities here. But yeah, this is exactly what we talk about sometimes. When we have those level 3, level 4 days and we're concerned about it, and then the level 1 days, maybe we're not as much, but it can still happen with weather. And there's one reason why it can be so destructive and so unpredictable sometimes, as much as, that is exactly what we do is try to predict that. It looks like my radar is trying to be difficult now. Let me see if I can there we go. Got it back. All right, so this is still pushing off as far as different counties. The areas right now under the tornado watch, Heidelberg, Sandersville, that whole area is under that right now, as that incredibly messy blob right there continues to push more towards the east. We do now have that severe thunderstorm warning effective for Wayne County, which you can see there for Waynesboro. That meaning a strong thunderstorm. You're going to kind of get the southern extension of that as it swings through. Now, the fact that they issued a severe thunderstorm warning there means they may be thinking that tornado warning may be dropped off soon, and that it will remain a strong storm capable of gusting winds and hail, but that rotation may be falling off, which it did seem like it isn't looking very, very healthy as far as that goes. So we're continuing to watch that. Hopefully we'll get this tornado warning dropped off here in the next few minutes. We're still watching this area of potential rotation, which right now, if I zoom in close enough, and is moving more towards the east-northeast, would be just east of Highway 11, kind of approaching County Road 6. Just to the south and east of Heidelberg. But again, I'm not as confident as we usually are when we try to place these things with the velocity couplet. I wouldn't even say there really is a couplet. It's just a broad area that's just tight enough and just damaging enough to keep that tornado warning on it. So we'll see. Check and see if they've updated it recently. It's still expected to last until 6:15, so for about the next 15 minutes here for southeastern Jasper and southwestern Clark and northeastern Jones. Biggest threats, once again, capable of producing a tornado, was once confirmed on the ground, no longer confirmed on the ground, but is still sufficiently radar-indicated rotation to be concerning enough for the storm. The potential for flying debris is there, the potential for damage to roofs, windows, vehicles, trees, things like that. Of course, mobile homes, not a safe place to be in this area. So if there is another option, that is of course ideal. But at this point, as this continues to push through, and with it being one of those early morning storms, a lot of people are asleep. It's very unfortunate timing. timing. So trying to get these, we're starting to move into areas where we're not getting so many hits on locations there. So you see here in just about the next 30 minutes, if this was to remain an active tornado warning, we're still looking at it going to Shibuya at 6:22. DeSoto at 6:24, and again, that's 20 minutes from now. So there's a large area where it's going to be moving through between Heidelberg and Sanders. Let me back up here, make sure I got the right one. So as it moves between Sandersville and Heidelberg towards Ukiah there, the tornado itself is more on the northern end of the county, just east of Highway 11. The entire tornado warning, though, extends from basically almost back to Soso all the way up to Heidelberg and towards Ukiah. I would say as it continues to move north, you could see Quitman and DeSoto starting to be more of an issue there. Shibuya, we mentioned a moment ago. If it takes a more southerly turn, which is possible, and I don't believe it will do that based on that severe thunderstorm warning there, but it is drifting in that direction. The southern end of that very strong blob there, which is associated with that tornado warning, is going to be moving right along 84, which would be near Whistler and towards Waynesboro and eventually Silas there as it moves into Alabama. So we're still watching this, trying to see what exactly we believe it's going to do as it pushes towards the splits here. I believe it's either going to go towards the north or the south. And we'll just have to see what's going on with the National Weather Service, where we believe that's going to do that split. Because, again, it is barely holding on to that rotation, but still right there, you can see just between Heidelberg and Ukiah, that little bit of green there, all mixed in that red, means that you have a lot of air going one direction and one little bit of air going the opposite direction, which indicates rotation there, rapidly shifting air. So it's not very wide, it's not very strong, but it's holding together just long enough right around County Road 6, as we said. Hard to place, but that's what I would say, getting these county roads here. County Road 1133, County Road 113, County Road 66, if any of these sound familiar to you, and this would mean that we're heading into some fairly rural areas. But if any of those sound familiar to you, then please go ahead and be ready to get in that safe spot. We've got to be getting an update here because we're on the eastern end of where that tornado warning is. So hopefully they're hoping to drop that off as we close in on the next couple of minutes here when that was supposed to expire. But it does still have that little pocket of rotation there in between Heidelberg and Ukiah. Again, very hard to place where exactly that might be, so we can kind of do maybe a wider track here instead of a spotted one. And we'll take it in that direction. You can see Heidelberg High School popping up once again. You never want to see that on a school day, especially around this time when buses will be going. I'm not sure exactly when that happens. I believe school starts at around 7. So here within the next hour, all of that should be happening. Again, to the south of Jasper, Jones, Wayne, and Clark, you very likely may not be encountering any rain whatsoever, certainly nothing concerning. This is all off on the northern end of the area. The stronger portion of it, the tornado-warned part of it, seems to be trending more towards the north, which may take it into Jasper and Clark. But again, it's right there on that county line and kind of has two halves, one of which seems to be pushing off towards the south and may be a severe thunderstorm, and then that tornado-warned area that seems to be pushing a little bit further north right along that county line. So now north of Ukiah, it looks like, as it continues to make its way through. So definitely not the best way to start off a Monday. Now, if you remember last week, we were talking about how storms would get started pretty much late last night. They would last through the morning and potentially afternoon today. Didn't look like, yeah, there we go. Got that update now. It looks like it may have shifted directions on us a lot, actually. I'm still moving east. I don't know why it has that southern extension there. Yes, let me take about 5 minutes here to see if I can get some more information on it and come back and make sure I've got the latest and see what exactly we're thinking about this. All right, so let me see this again. Let me do one last look here as to where it may be at this exact second, and then I'll do some deep dives and see if maybe we can get a little bit more clarity on that. Right now, we're just seeing that area of green. That's just a small pocket of rotation there. Just north of Ucutta, still again, right there on the county line. Now, it's basically just north of the Jones-Wayne county line and just on top of the Jasper-Clark county line. If it moved due east from this point, which is what it's expected to do at about 35 miles per hour, it's showing that it would be moving towards Shibuda almost directly. I'll go ahead and put that out for the next 20 minutes or so. Again, Shibuda and Selle Prairie, they're the only ones showing up. So moving through, it looks like a relatively uninhabited area, but still, of course, not something that we want to see. I'm going to go ahead and collect some notes here and give it to Brandy, and we'll be right back at it.
All right, Ryan, well, thanks for that. So we're learning of possible school delays, not necessarily closures just yet. We've been working all hands on deck as far as me, producers, EP, and everything behind the scenes. So we actually reached out to those EMA directors in the Pine Belt, specifically right now, Jones and Jasper County. The Jones County School District, it's actually holding up buses in the Northern District, and we're working to learn what schools lie in that area. But as of this morning, Laurel Christian School will be on an hour delay, and we will keep you updated on closures as we get more information. But as of right now, nothing from the Jones County School District, Jasper County School District, excuse me. We've been in connection with the EMA director there, who is Hudson Jenkins. He's the EMA director, and he said he hasn't heard anything from the Jasper School District just yet. So since things are traveling east, according to Ryan, what he's been telling us all morning, we're going to be reaching out to other districts within that area, such as like Wayne and Clark County. So if you see us like on our phones and things like that, it's just because we're working to get you guys the latest information as you normally at this time would be getting your kiddos ready for school. So we're starting to see a lot more tornado activity this spring. We always want to make sure that you're staying weather aware. You can always download our WDAM weather app. We'll have first alert weather coverage for you. You can always follow our Facebook page, WDAM7, as well as all of our meteorologists. Of course, Ryan is here right now, but we also have Patrick on standby. He's been in communication with Ryan, and then of course Hannah and Rex. You can keep up to date on their Facebook pages as well. You can even have your Midland weather radio, just in case your phone just may not be charged, and that goes by battery, so you can always keep that on your nightstand or wherever, as far as so you can hear those alerts, because again, throughout these hours, it's pretty early. Not everybody is up unless you have kiddos or if you're getting ready for work. So right now, and some other news for you,